I play Duel Links. It's a fun way to play Yu-Gi-Oh! When your friends aren't interested in the game. Speed Duel is a simplified format, and it has Rush Duel, which I at least enjoy playing. Another plus is that there's a lot of cards from the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime and manga that never saw TCG, OCG, or Rush release to the present day, so it's the best way to experience certain anime and manga original character decks. Today I'm talking about a deck that definitely falls under this designation, and functions as a character deck related to cats and cat girls for Speed Duel. The reason being is that I like cats, which is good enough for me. There's also a cat archetype in Rush Duel, but it isn't available in Duel Links just yet, so that'll have to wait until another day. And to get this out of the way now, this deck isn't particularly what you would consider to be good. Even in casual Duel, you'd be lucky to get the occasional win. But what this deck lacks in strength, it makes up for in soul. One key rule that I follow with this deck is that I generally only use cards that are related to cats in some way. As a result, the majority of the cards come from Catherine's deck from Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal, which is helpful in Duel Links especially, since nearly all of her cards are currently exclusive to either Duel Links or Tag Force, which I'll cover in a future video. Now, while I'm sure a highly effective way to increase the power of this deck would be to Xyz summon Utopia and then Numeron Force into Utopia Victory or Leo, it wouldn't make any sense with the spiritual theme of the deck. The deck we'll be looking at in this video is the more straightforward of two potential decks built from Cathy's cards from the anime, although there are additional anime exclusive or TCG or OCG exclusive cards that could be added to Duel Links later to further develop her other deck, which is a level 1 Swarm deck. This deck, on the other hand, is a level 4 beatdown deck centered around Cat Girl Magician. Now, an elephant in the room that I want to go ahead and address is that this deck does not use Rescue Cat. Although extremely useful, Rescue Cat only special summons level 3 and lower beast monsters, which are not used at all in this deck. For this reason, we'll also not be using Lock Cat, since it has a similar effect for level 1 beast monsters only. Now don't worry, these cards find their well-deserved spot in Cathy's other deck, but not today. Now for now, we're going to start by talking about the core of this deck, which includes Cat Girl, Stray Cat Girl, Inviting Cat, Cat World, and Cat Girl Magician. So first, let's talk about Cat Girl. Now this monster is a level 4 Earth Beast effect monster with 1200 attack and 1600 defense. Now when normal summoned, it can special summon a Stray Cat Girl from the hand or graveyard at the cost of locking us out of any special summons of 2000 attack or more for the rest of the turn. Fortunately, this restriction is negligible for this deck, since we won't be using any cards with more than 2000 attack anyway, even in the extra deck. Finally, Cat Girl has a nice effect of preventing the opponent from changing their monster's battle positions while Cat Girl is on the field, but typically that won't be for very long, since we have bigger plans for her. Stray Cat Girl is a level 4 Earth Beast effect monster with 600 attack and 1500 defense. Its first effect allows it to special summon itself from the hand by tributing a level 1 Beast-type monster when their opponent declares an attack, but we won't be utilizing this effect this time. Its second effect is marginally more useful, rendering it immune to battle destruction while in attack position. Now, admittedly, this isn't tremendously helpful, since it only has 600 base attack, and battle destruction is a much less useful immunity than effect destruction, but it is nice to have in a pinch. Now, whenever possible, we're going to use Cat Girl and Stray Cat Girl to summon the boss monster of the deck, Cat Girl Magician. She is a rank 4 light spellcaster Xyz monster with 2000 attack and 1800 defense that, like every other Xyz monster in this deck, requires 2 generic materials to summon. Cat Girl Magician has an ignition effect that allows her to remove an overlay unit during the battle phase in order to have her attack in exchange for allowing her to attack directly that turn. Notably, this effect can be activated after attacking, so if you want to get a Stray Cat Girl in the graveyard but don't want to give up on the attack points during your battle phase, then you can take care of that after attacking instead. Inviting Cat is a normal spell and is a must-have for this deck, since it is the main searcher for Cat Girl cards. Inviting Cat simply searches one Cat Girl or Stray Cat monster and adds it to the hand. By and large, we're going to want to have Catgirl available to normal summon as often as possible when our turn comes around, and this will help us to accomplish this. Cat World is a field spell, and is a particularly powerful one for our Catgirls as well. It has a somewhat unusual effect of increasing the attack of any Catgirl or stray cat monster by its original attack, which applies to all of the cards that we've talked about so far. Now, unfortunately, the version of this card from Duel Links, Tag Force, and Duel Carnival is actually a nerf of the original effect in the anime, which originally applied to any Neko or cat monster, but it's still sufficiently powerful in Duel Links to get the job done within a character deck or within the archetype. Now, it's important to note the wording of Cat World, since it effectively doubles Catgirl or stray cat monster's attack. But since it doesn't strictly double anything, but rather add the original attack to the current attack, external effects do not increase or decrease the boost. In this deck, the notable changes are the increase for Catgirl from 1200 attack to 2400 attack, Stray Catgirl from 600 to 1200, and Catgirl Magician from 2000 to 4000. As you may have figured out by now, this has the potential to be an OTK deck, since the starting life points in Duel Links is 4000, but it takes more than just our Catgirl cards to make this work. Now, admittedly, I struggle with how many copies of Cat World to run, since, like Inviting Cat, it isn't searchable despite how important it is for the deck, even though the anime version of Cat World is searchable with Inviting Cat, which is kind of a bummer. Now, I like to run Cat World at 3 copies, but I will admit that this can lead to a lot of bricking for a deck that can only search with Inviting Cat to begin with, so definitely something to consider. Now, these 5 cards form the core of the deck, but by no means is this it, or honestly, even enough to be remotely useful. Now sure, Catgirl Magician can attack directly, but even with Cat World on the field, it ends up hitting for 2000 per attack. Certainly no slouch, but we could do better. On one hand, we could just give our monsters Megamorph, Psychic Blade, or Power of the Guardians, but that's no fun. We want to use cats. So let's find some cats to give some well-needed support to the Catgirls we've covered so far. Quantum Cat is a very interesting card, since it is a trap monster, but it's also a level 4 trap monster, so it's just the kind of cat that we're looking for in this deck. On the field, Quantum Cat is still a trap card, but it's also counted as a level 4 normal monster with 0 attack and 2200 defense. Its type and attribute are both entirely up to the discretion of the player, but we don't use that particular ability a lot in our case, since our Xyz monsters take generic level 4 materials, and Quantum Cat loses its type and attribute once it becomes Xyz materials or goes to the graveyard. Instead, the value of Quantum Cat for us is that it's an extra level 4 monster on the field in addition to any Catgirl or Stray Catgirl that you've managed to summon to overlay into Catgirl Magician. Plus, you know, it's a cat with pretty decent defense, so it can help out in a pinch. The only problem with Quantum Cat is that it's a little slow, being a trap monster without a turn of option like Trap Tricks Holuta or Shade Brigandine. This, combined with the fact that Catgirl procs on a normal summon, means that this can't be an FTK deck, although it's still capable of an OTK on turn 3 onward with Duel Links starting life points of 4000. However, as with many components of this deck, Quantum Cat can't work alone, since it often gets help from perhaps the most critical card in this OTK strategy, that being Catch Eve L2. Now, Catch Eve L2 is an extremely interesting addition, and is notably not a beast-type monster at all like most of our other cats. Instead, this cybernetic Catgirl is a level 2 light cyberse effect monster with 800 attack and 600 defense. Catch Eve L2 has the useful ability of targeting a level 3 or higher monster you control, in our case a level 4 such as Catgirl, Stray Catgirl, or Quantum Cat, and reducing that monster's level by 2 while special summoning itself from the hand. Now this effect is particularly fun, since we're mostly using level 4 monsters, which means the Catch Eve L2 perfectly opens the door to add rank 2 Xyz monsters to our toolbox as well. Fortunately for us, there are 2 rank 2 cats that fit the bill perfectly. The first is Cat Shark, which is the primary target for Catch Eve L2's effect, being a rank 2 Water Beast Xyz monster with 500 attack and defense. It is immune to battle destruction while it has a material that was originally water, but that doesn't help us, since remember, Quantum Cat loses its attribute after becoming an overlay unit. There isn't another level 4 cat monster that we can use for now. More importantly, Cat Shark has an effect to detach a material to double the original attack and defense of a rank 4 or lower Xyz monster until the end of the turn. Now, this is a critical component of the deck, since Cat Shark allows for Catgirl Magician's attack to double to 4,000, even after Catgirl Magician halves her own attack in order to attack directly. Therefore, by using Catgirl Magician's effect during the battle phase, followed by Cat Shark's effect, Catgirl Magician can swing for game even without Cat World, dealing 4,000 damage in a single hit. Do beware, however, since because Catgirl Magician's effect activates at the end of the chain, if you chain Cat Shark to Catgirl Magician, she will only end up with 2,000 attack instead of 4,000, since Cat Shark will double her attack to 4,000, but then she'll just have her attack back down to 2,000. Ask me how I know how that works. Number 29, Mannequin Cat, is another good option for utilizing Catch Eve L2 if Catgirl Magician was disrupted or was otherwise unable to hit the field in the first place, making Cat Shark a sitting duck. This is because Mannequin Cat is another rank 2 Xyz monster, this time a light beast, with 2,000 attack and 900 defense. This attack stat is very useful, since it can both be Xyz summoned even after Catgirl has activated her effect, locking you out of monsters with over 2,000 original attack, and can be boosted by Cat Shark to 4,000, assuming you manage to get 2 Catch Eve L2s. Mannequin Cat comes with another couple of interesting abilities, being able to special summon a monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard, provided it shares a type or attribute with a monster owned by your opponent when they special summon. This is made slightly easier by being able to detach an Xyz material to selectively special summon a monster from your opponent's graveyard, albeit with the risk of giving your opponent a free monster. This particular deck doesn't really make a lot of use of this ability, since Beast type and Earth attribute monsters aren't especially common, but it can be helpful in a pinch, like the one you're probably finding yourself in if you're summoning Mannequin Cat to begin with. Mannequin Cat is also a number Xyz monster, which gives it extra synergy with number support cards, should you choose to go down that route. Annoyingly, Mannequin Cat loses out in the translation from the anime cat world to the video game version, and she does not benefit from the attack boost that other cats and cat girls do, which she otherwise would because her name contains the word cat in it. However, I can kind of understand the change that they made to Cat World moving from the anime to the video games, since otherwise a card like Luna Light Cat Dancer would get its attack doubled as well, and we really don't need that running around. In any case, that's it for our cat monsters for now, but there are a few other cards to look at that can help the cats do their job. Gold Coins for Cats is a normal trap card that was also used by Cathy and Zexal as part of her cat deck. It's a trap card that allows one of our beast monsters to increase its attack by half the attack of whatever monster it battles until the end of the turn. Unfortunately, this card does not work for Catgirl Magician, since it's a spellcaster instead of a beast, which is probably the target we'd want to use it most for, but we'll take what we can get, since it can help save your Catgirl if she gets attacked before she's able to overlay into Catgirl Magician, or it can help to preserve Mannequin Cat if we ended up going down that route. Spiritual Forest is a continuous spell card that is actually tied to the Gishki archetype, and is therefore the first card unrelated to cats so far. However, it provides a helpful boon to our beast monsters, which Lord knows they could use. Spiritual Forest makes it so the first time a beast, beast warrior, or plant monster is destroyed by battle each turn, they are protected from destruction. Together with Gold Coins for Cats, this provides a nice buffer for Catgirl, Mannequin Cat, and Quantum Cat in case it takes a bit to get going. However, as with before, it doesn't help Catgirl Magician, and it still leaves the door open for effect destruction, banishment, or non-target removal like shuffling back into the deck. So it's not strictly necessary, especially since it neglects to involve cats, which already annoys me a little bit. On the bright side, it is a target for Watch Cat, so that can help once a low-level cat deck becomes more viable with future additions to Duel Links. Beast Burial Ritual is a normal trap card used in the anime by Andre, and the Duel Links version is a slightly slower but more versatile version of that card. In the anime, Beast Burial Ritual destroyed a beast monster on the field in exchange for drawing 2 cards, but prevented those cards from being used during the turn Beast Burial Ritual was activated. In Duel Links, the card instead makes you wait until the next standby phase after activation to draw 2 cards, but the cards that were drawn can be used at any time. This is an interesting card that allows for easy draws if you're willing to sacrifice a beast monster during your opponent's end phase, such as a Beast Quantum Cat if you have another waiting, or straight Catgirl if you know you'll be normal summoning Catgirl during your next turn anyway to retrieve it from the graveyard. But Beast Burial Ritual is generally slow and risky enough to omit if need be, since, as with Spiritual Forest, it isn't technically related to cats, but rather provides generic beast support, since an extra 2 cards isn't something to scoff at if you're willing to pay the cost, especially for a deck that doesn't really search a whole lot. Now finally, because we're playing Duel Links, we need a skill for our deck. Unfortunately, this is a real sore spot for this deck, as there isn't really any good generic beast or earth support, and Cathy is not yet a playable character in Duel Links, so her cats don't really have a skill to call their own. Through my workshopping of the deck, I find that the best fit for now is Xyz's Light Rays, usable by a number of Zexal characters, hence why I've been using Trey in the gameplay footage in this video. I mean, yeah, you could just use the Power of All Creation for the free card of your choice from your deck, but come on, that's no fun. So for now, we're going to stick with Xyz's Light Rays. Now this is a pretty basic skill, granting 2 pretty generic effects that honestly come in handy pretty often. The first effect is a 1500 point boost to your starting life points, which is fine, I'll take it. The second effect is a 300 point boost to one monster's attack points during your turn, or an 800 point boost if there is a Light and Xyz or Light Xyz monster on the field or in the graveyard, which is going to be most of the time because that's really where most of the extra deck pieces are coming from. I mean, you could have Cat Shark on the field by itself, but typically if Cat Shark is on the field by itself, it means that your Mannequin Cat or Catgirl Magician has already seen the field and is probably currently in the graveyard, which would lead itself to activating Xyz's Light Rays' effect anyway. Now 800 points isn't that impressive, but it can help to hit some pretty nice thresholds during your turn, even more if Catworld's on the field. Although remember, Catworld isn't able to double the boost because of its specific wording. So, in essence, you get your original attack, plus your original attack, plus 800. It also helps that both Catgirl Magician and Mannequin Cat are Light Xyz monsters, so there are multiple options for getting the activated effect going. Better than nothing, I say. So that essentially does it for the pure version of this deck that takes primarily from Catherine's anime deck. Now, there are other options for the deck that retains the spiritual theme, such as incorporating Stray Cat, Monster Cat, and Rescue Cat for some level 3 and below options, as well as mixing in Lunalight options with Blue Cat and Cat Dancer, as well as Tiger, Panther Dancer, and Leo Dancer, because they're basically Catgirls, However, they don't have a lot of synergy with Cathy's cards, since all of the fusions are blocked if Catgirl's effect is triggered for the turn, since they all have over 2000 attack, and there aren't really any good skill options in Duel Links that apply to both archetypes, since Xyz's Light Rays relies on Catgirl Magician or Mannequin Cat already having been played for any of the Lunalight monsters to benefit, them being dark fusion cards. And Lunalight skills, or Fusion Dark Rays if you want to make it even swap, conversely don't benefit any of Cathy's monsters without Lunalight monsters actively being played, if at all. Now, hopefully I'll be making an updated version of this video when Cathy is finally added to Duel Links and they give her a busted skill to use with Catgirl and Stray Cat series of their own. Or at least a usable skill. Please, come on. Certainly she can get something better than the Charmers got stuck with by having to use Awakening of the Charmers forever. But anyway, for now, that's all I have for you today. Hopefully this will be the first of multiple videos on cat cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because Konami seems to like cats a lot too, so there's a lot to talk about. I also have a number of other topics I'd like to cover in the world of speed and rush duel gimmick decks and Duel Links, so hopefully those will be coming down the pipeline soon. But till next time, peace and love.